But now I want to tell you another story because this, again, is a story where God was trying to give me a better understanding with regards to that message. Now, prior to this particular incident happening, I was driving home one day and I remember I had a vision of a car crash. And I remember seeing a car strike the rear driver's side panel of the vehicle. Now, all during that week, it was that campaign where they put out the message of no texting and driving. So, what immediately came upon my mind as a cop is that my oldest daughter, who's driving, well, I got to relay the message to her, don't text and drive, because maybe God has given me a warning for an accident because she's texting and driving. So I just began to tell her, Jacqueline, you don't text and drive, right? If you text and drive, you're going to have an accident. You could possibly have a fatal accident. You can harm others. You can harm yourself. So that was the message of the week. Now it came to a Friday, and I was going to drive my wife to work. And she had to be at work by 8:30. And I remember I went out there first. She was still inside getting ready. And to me, it looked like the driver front side tire was low. So I went over to the tire and I just said, Lord, I can't afford to fix this. Lord, we're very short of money. These are new tires. And the Lord said, pray on a tire. And at first I thought that was a little ridiculous, but I did it anyway. And I just prayed a simple prayer about, Lord, please watch over this tire. Give it strength. Keep its sidewall strengthened, Lord, so it doesn't deflate. So that I don't get into an accident, Lord. It causes me no harm. Just a very simple prayer like that. And then my wife came out of the house and she got into the car and I just told her about the tire and she needed to keep it in prayer. Now, my wife was working in St. Augustine, so it was about a half-hour drive. And we have to travel on 95. And if you know anything about Interstate 95, it is very busy, especially in the morning and the afternoon rush. So I drove her to work. I gave her a kiss goodbye. And I turned around and I began to head south on 95. Now I was in the right-hand lane. And I remember there was a lot of traffic. I was doing about 70 miles an hour. But I remember there was a lot of traffic and I saw trucks. Now, as I'm driving, in my mirror, I saw a white flash. And then it went away. But it caught my attention. And then immediately after I saw that flash, I saw it once again. And this time I heard a loud bang. And at that moment, I realized I was hit in my rear driver's side panel. And my car just began to go into almost like a NASCAR spin. The back began to yaw. And I remember just crying out to the Lord, Lord, help me, save me. And I grab onto that wheel. And then my car goes from the median and it begins to go off the road. And it begins to slide across the grass. And I'm heading towards a pine tree. And then my car just miraculously stops about 6 feet from this major big pine tree. And as I stopped, I just started to thank God. Now, a man pulled up behind me. I remember he had a pickup truck. And he asked me if I was okay. And he said, that was the most amazing driving that I ever saw. And at first, my pride came into the picture because I was a EVOC trainer in the police force. That's emergency vehicle operations. And I would train people how to, drive and get out of those type of situations. But then God quickly reminded me. And I began to tell this man the story. And what was amazing was this man went to my front driver's side tire. That's why that's important. He went to the front driver's side tire. And what he saw, he could not believe. He said, sir, I have no idea how this tire is not deflated. This tire is what stopped you from going into the pine tree. Do you see all the grass that's between the rim and the tire wall? There's no way that this tire should be holding air. That's amazing. Because God allowed that tire to take the full weight of my vehicle and to stop me. But then the next amazing thing happened. The two young girls that were in the vehicle that hit me, they finally pulled over to the side of the road, and they were very shaken up. And I walked over to them and began to speak to them. And the one thing that they were amazed about, they said, "Where did all the cars go that were on the road?" You see, what happened with them is they began to spin where their car was turned in the opposite direction in the middle of the road where they should have been hit. But there were no vehicles around them. They were able to put the car back into drive and to pull safely off of the shoulder of the road. So I began to speak to them and tell them the story. And I said, let me tell you about Jesus and what Jesus did. Here's the amazing part. The girls looked at each other, and the one girl said, we need to start praying to Jesus. Both of these girls were Jewish. So God can use anything. He can use what we perceive as an adverse situation in our life for His glory. It was amazing. And let me tell you the other part that was amazing. And then on the next program, I'm going to share the Philadelphia story. But what happened was my car needed to be repaired. And the thing that we were worrying about, my wife and I, was we needed to travel to Philadelphia. We felt like we needed to go there and also walk the city. You see, we were to go there for a wedding, but we also felt led to walk and pray at that city. We had no idea how we were going to get there because our car had so many miles on it. We didn't feel that we could trust that vehicle. But let me tell you the amazing thing. We had to go to Philadelphia in 2 weeks. We were given a rental car. It was a brand new SUV. Now, the contract stated that we couldn't take it out of state. So I called the woman and I said, listen, I'm a pastor. We need to go up north, but my contract says we can't take it out of state unless a fee is paid. And my wife and I calculated it, and it would come to over $1,000 with mileage and everything. And I'm like, I don't have the money. Well, the woman said to me, sir, don't worry about that. You weren't at fault for the accident, so you can take that vehicle out of state. So we took a brand new SUV to Philadelphia. That's what the Lord did for us. He allowed us, He took that fear out of our hearts to go where He was calling us to go. He gave us a new vehicle. And that's why I was thanking Him for that. It's my prayer that the experiences that I'm sharing with you cause you to hunger and thirst for that desire to know God, to have that intimate knowledge of Him, because He desires to have that relationship with you, that intimate time of fellowship with you. I don't want you to see Christ through my eyes, through my experiences, but I'm telling you this because I want you to experience for yourself how wonderful our Lord is and how He truly works in your life.